Please welcome Bob Blakley, Global Head of Security Innovation at Citigroup.
So how many of you attended an end-of-the-world prep party on New Year's Eve 1999? Yeah, one of the great things about being in the technology space is that every generation or every decade or so, we get to participate in a big Hollywood disaster movie. That one didn't happen. The Y2K problem was identified far enough in advance that we were able to fix it, and as a result, it took me years to get rid of all the champagne that I had packed away in case the disaster occurred. So we always have to be asking ourselves, what's the next asteroid, and how far away is it? And I think there's a new one that we need to be paying attention to, and it arises because we have spent the last 25 years putting everything on the internet. And of course, everything includes public information, but it also includes secrets. The Greek word for secret, kryptos, means covered up. And so when we put secrets on the internet, we realized that it wasn't going to be a good idea to just let anybody stumble across them. So we used this mechanism from the Greek words for write in secret to protect all of these secrets. And we chose mechanisms for cryptography that we thought were going to be very strong. Now, of course, for one reason or another, we didn't bother to engage the mathematicians fully enough to get them to prove that the mechanisms were going to be strong enough to last forever. So in the back of our minds, there's always been this possibility of what the Greeks would have called an apocalypse. Now, apocalypse sounds bad, right? And in popular culture, it means the end of the world. Of course, it's not the end of the world. The Greeks just meant by apocalypse the day when all the secrets are revealed. It's not the end of the world, but it's still pretty bad. So how does the apocalypse occur? Well, it usually doesn't occur in the way that we broke the data encryption standard by engineering progress against Moore's law to the point where it becomes cheap enough to break a cryptosystem. That happens slowly enough that even the dimmest among us can sense that it's going to happen on some date in the future and can prepare for it. What really is a bad case is when something breaks and we didn't expect it to. and that's what Nassim Taleb calls a black swan. An event whose probability seemed very, very remote yesterday and whose probability is 1 today. And there is a potential black swan hiding in cryptography's pond today, and it comes in the form of a quantum computer. So this is a graphically uninteresting rendition of Schrodinger's cat. Here is a quantum state, and when it resolves itself, there either is or isn't a cat in the future. So, why is a quantum computer bad? That's more than 8 minutes, but basically it's bad because there are quantum algorithms that can solve a couple of specific problems, factoring and finding solutions to elliptic curve problems, that cause us instantaneously to lose 100% of the strength of popular algorithms like RSA, the DSS, Diffie-Hellman key exchange, ECDSA, ECC, all of the things that we use to underpin the trust infrastructure of the entire electronic world. And so if a sufficiently big quantum computer goes online tomorrow, all of these things vanish overnight, and we don't have replacements waiting for these things that we can just switch on. I didn't keep any of the champagne, maybe I should have. So what are the various cases? Well, in a good case, somebody announces that they've just begun an effort to build a quantum computer, and it's probably going to take 10 or 15 years, and we've got some time to design new cryptographic algorithms and migrate to them. And we get done with that fast enough so that all of the things that we have to protect still have a good protection interval left, right? If you have a 30-year mortgage signed with a DocuSign signature, it matters that that thing remains safely signed for 30 years. In a bad case, well, somebody tells us that they're going to take 15 years to build a quantum computer, and it takes us 12 years to actually design and deploy the new algorithms, and there's stuff still left hanging out that was encrypted 3 years ago that's exposed after the collapse occurs. And in the worst case, somebody tells us that they've got a quantum computer tomorrow, and we encrypted a whole bunch of stuff hoping that it would remain safe for 10 years, and then all of a sudden tomorrow is a bad day. Well, so if we're in the good case, we have a safety margin, and we can all relax, and we can just let the mathematicians do their thing. So it probably pays to think about which case are we in. Do we need to ratchet up our efforts immediately, or do we have a little time to relax and have a drink out here before we run back to our offices to start working? Well, the most important factor in that equation is how long is it going to take for somebody to build a quantum computer? And a quantum computer has to be a certain size in order to solve the relevant problems. There's already a 17-qubit quantum computer courtesy of IBM online that you can play with if you want. You can run a program on it. Google says that they're going to have a 40-bit quantum computer by the end of the year, which is error-corrected and which will demonstrate something called quantum supremacy, the ability to show that the computer is definitively running an algorithm faster than any conventional Turing-style computer could do. Nobody really knows, right? This is sort of a guessing game. But Michele Mosca of the University of Waterloo has provided a set of estimates, and his estimate is that there's a 1 in 7 probability that there will be a quantum computer that can break RSA 2048 by the year 2026, and a 1 in 2 probability that there'll be one by 2031. That's not really a lot of time, because replacing a crypto infrastructure takes a long time. So which case are we in? Let's assume that security shelf life is 5 years. 5 years is probably optimistic. A realistic estimate of security shelf life is probably about 7 years. That's the sort of standard document retention interval for businesses. You probably don't need 30 years because you can re-sign things if you have really long, signed instruments. So confidentiality is probably the determining factor in shelf life. But for purposes of making the math easy, since we're decimal creatures, we'll say 5 years. So if the migration time, oh my gosh, my time's up. I'll go fast. If the migration time is 3 years, if we can replace a crypto infrastructure in 3 years, then we probably have a pretty good safety margin. With probability 1/7, we have a year left. With probability 1/2, we have 6 years left. But what if it takes longer than that? What if it takes 10 years to replace a crypto infrastructure? Well, in that case, with a probability 1/7, we're already in the worst case. And with probability 1/2, we only have about 3 years worth of security shelf life left. So the bottom line message is we need to get started soon. Who agrees with this? Well, US NIST and NSA agree with this, and they should have reason to know. The bottom line is that cryptographic algorithms break. They always break because, as Sherlock Holmes wrote, what the mind of one man can invent, another can discover. In this instance, the discovery could happen very rapidly, so we should start preparing to shift to a new cryptographic infrastructure pretty soon. Thanks.